And welcome into the League Down Under. It's the podcast that takes you inside the inner sanctum of our Dynasty League, and it asks the question, who are you going to side with? I'm your host, Ben, joined as always by my co-host, Keeney. How you doing, man?
Going very well, mate. A lot has happened since we last hit the airwaves. We've knocked off the 2026 rookie draft. A bit went down. We'll go through it tonight. But, Ben, I think there's also someone at the door.
That's true. So we're not joined by our other co-host, Hod. He's busy at a function tonight. Couldn't make it on this week, but we are joined by someone who's going to step into his place, and I don't know, he might outperform him. We'll leave that for the listeners. Welcome to Matty Mack. He's the GM of Prestige Worldwide. He is a champ of the league. Welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Bling bling. I'm good, boys. How are you?
Doing
very
much
good.
Better with that intro.
Very. Hey, and in the words of the DFF last week, you are the champ and almost the triple champ guy.
Yep. And that's a nickname that will always stick.
What do you think of the DFF last week, Thais? It dawned on me listening back to it. He is the Carl Pilkington of this league.
Pretty good.
He really is, and you guys are Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant. It's perfect.
Thank you.
Well, Keeney's got the height for Stephen Merchant.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The girth for Ricky but you are the, outside of the three mainstays of this podcast, you're the third person to feature on it. How would you rate the last two people we've had on? Obviously, they were in a guest capacity. You're going to co-host tonight. And do you think you can live up to what they've already delivered?
I can definitely live up to and out-deliver what Leisure Suit Larry provided us a couple of weeks ago. Very diplomatic and glass-half-full man. And speaking of glass-half-full, listening to the barometer last week in the Dynasty Football Factory, well, I could do all sorts of things under the sun, and I'll never be able to top his performance. So shout out to the DFF.
That's a fair call there. So we've got a pretty interesting episode on the cards. We've had the last couple of episodes, obviously, where we've just introduced a couple of teams to our listeners out there who aren't part of our league. We're going to have a bit of a sidebar on that one, even though we do have Thais on tonight. He's just going to help us run through, as Keeney pointed out. We did have our rookie draft. It took place over the weekend. It was an online draft, I suppose I should say. In the past, we've all tried to get together and do it, but when one team owns a monopoly on the first round, it kind of takes the luster out of all getting together to get around who drafts who in the first round. So thanks, Camo, for taking the fun out of that one for us. So that's been completed over the weekend. We'll run you through how that looks, but we've also got a few trades that went down in the league this week, which we will run you through. But I think, guys, we need to start with some news.
Every newsman in this city's laughing at us, and I don't like it.
And probably the main one, this dropped today, and we are recording, obviously, on a Wednesday here in Australia. It's pretty big news, and Thais, this does affect you as the owner of him in Dynasty. Josh Jacobs, the news that came out about his arrest for some domestic abuse. Obviously, this is becoming a bit too consistent in the NFL with some of their players, but it's really, I don't know, this reading through it, obviously there's 4 misdemeanors, counts of assault, damage to property, disorderly conduct. There's a lot going on here. And I think back to, obviously, Ezekiel Elliott, who had a lot of off-season drama that resulted in a 6-game ban, and the whole season plan played out of when is he going to get that. But then I also think of Rashee Rice as well with this sort of stuff. So how does this have you feeling as the Josh Jacobs owner? Are you writing him off from a Dynasty perspective, or are you holding out hope that there will be some form of legality that will hold this up and you'll get something out of him?
Yeah, it was very surprising when that dropped today, because the phone blew up and I didn't see what it was, and when I did, kind of couldn't believe it. Like, it's pretty serious. For someone that's in Green Bay, definitely perceived as like one of the leaders of the team, and is supposedly like a pretty good guy. We'll hold judgment on that until it all plays out, but where there's smoke, there's fire, so it's not good. I think, no, he's probably not in my top 3 running backs from a dynasty perspective, so I'll manage it. I'm probably expecting him to get a suspension. You're right, Keeney.
Nah, just a little baby flex.
Yeah.
Just a little baby flex. Like the running back 10 from last year is not in my top 3. So I'll be right.
Anyway, maybe top 4. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I think we know how this goes, right? Like with the exception of Henry Ruggs. It is Henry Ruggs, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
The third. Yeah,
Don't confuse him with
we
the
probably
second.
know how this works, that, you've got the power of money and law behind Josh Jacobs versus probably a woman who's struggling to pay her own bills on the other side of things, and it'll probably get resolved and he'll be able to
settled
play
or
and might
whatever.
face like a 6-8 week suspension, something like that. But you just hope, dynasty football's all fun, but you just hope that those things didn't actually eventuate and that maybe it's somewhere in the middle. But
Yeah.
what will be? I mean, we just play fantasy at the end of the day.
I think on this one, it'll be these things that go, through the legal system normally take a lot of time. So I think this will be more on the Rashee Rice side of things. I think this will be delayed until next year. I just think he'll play. I don't think he'll get suspended this year. I also think the NFL in recent times rarely suspend from the EFL, from the NFL's point of view. It's like the law handles it, and that's the suspension. And the NFL typically don't suspend on top of the law.
And the one that comes to mind is Ray Rice. And the biggest difference there, because that's exactly how they were going to treat it, was until video footage came out. So I feel like until there's sort of public scrutiny where there's irrefutable evidence against it, you're right, I think it will go down. Let's just kick it down the road until we have to face the music. And that seems to be a bit of a Roger Goodell play on this one. Last one first, because it's probably a bit heavy for
For an intro.
podcast.
Very.
Off the DFM.
Something to note, though, is that I don't think he's owed any more guaranteed money. So if Green Bay have an inkling that it's not good, there's every chance they could cut him. But then they're also in the Super Bowl window, or they think they are. So there's a sizable gap between what they've got behind him. So, but they'd probably swing a trade for seeing today guys like James Conner, Tyler Algier,
Connor's
there's a few other guys around the league that they could probably get. Kamara, but we'll see. We're not going to speculate anymore. Let's chat draft.
They could just ride him into the ground, Thais.
Let's looking that way.
So you're saying Timos, being the Marshawn Lloyd owner, shouldn't get his hopes up? They will bring... you're a Green Bay fan. You would have seen probably more of Marshawn Lloyd than most. Where do you sort of have him sitting with that team?
Yeah, I think he's shown that his body hasn't been able to hold up so far, and while he's not injured at the moment, I don't think he projects as being a workhorse, but he's definitely the best that they've got. So they'd probably thrust him into that role and look to bring a veteran in if he was... And like to Keeney's point, it's probably a next year thing. It's more if the team cut him than get a suspension during the year. But
yeah, fair call. And then another bloke, obviously... We mentioned Rashee Rice. He's on Jake's roster there with OJ's legal team. He was on probation and then he broke the rules or whatever of his probation. Now he's behind bars for 30 days, but got a little clean up of the knee just before he went behind bars. So an interesting thing to watch play out there. I just had a look on, not a sponsor, Dynasty Daddy, but if you go to trades going on in leagues right now, they've got them in sizes of bubbles. His bubble is about this big compared to everyone else's, because I think there are a lot of dynasty owners that are just jumping off what has been a pretty tumultuous career in his short span. He has had nothing but these sort of stories come out, and this is clearly the worst of them. But yeah, if I'm the OJ's legal team, I'd be a little bit... I would be pretty keen if someone came to me with an offer, and I would definitely entertain it. But it's such an enigma because they haven't really put anyone else behind him on their wide receiver depth. So when he plays, you can almost guarantee he's a solid wide receiver one, but it's what he does off the field that's a worry.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've just had our rookie draft, but from all reports, people have been bailing for sort of like the 112, 201, that
Yep.
range of the most recent rookie draft, and just trying to get out and recoup any sort of losses they can. But it is, yeah, it's one that could go either way at the moment. So be interesting to see how it plays out.
All
And
right.
then just quickly, 12 months ago, it was Rasheed Rice versus Xavier Worthy. It was kind of neck and neck. And then Worthy got hurt. Was it in the opener in the first quarter or something? And then kind of never recovered. And now he seems like he's an afterthought. But, removed the injury and this Rice stuff.
Ooh,
Who knows?
It's a good
Sneaky.
point. I wonder, will his value rise? Well, we had a couple of trade bombshells go on in the league prior to the draft. There was one that happened prior to, and then one that happened post-draft. So let's have a bit of a breakdown right now at what
Speaking
those
of rising.
entailed. So the one that really set the league on fire here, and we might even put this out to our listeners because this really set the chat off, didn't it?
Boy.
When it went down. And that was the Jim City Stallions. He traded out Harold Fannin Jr., a young tight end after his rookie season, had a pretty remarkable rookie season, and he's drafted him out for Blake Corum and a 2026 third, which was Jake's. Was it Jake's?
311. The 311 it was.
Turned out to be the 311. So, which was turned into Keeney?
Kevin Coleman from
Kevin
the Miami Dolphins.
Coleman, the Miami wide receiver. So, what's
Not
our
Tevin Coleman.
Not Tevin Coleman, the gadget player who suffered from migraines. No.
No,
Oh,
well,
no, that's
there's
Percy Harvin. I'm confusing
there was,
so
yeah,
many
you,
gadget
you
players.
really are. There, this got a lot of airtime on I think it was a Friday morning.
Yes,
The
it
old
did.
the Dynasty chat went up in flames. There was calls for veto. I had side chats upon side chats.
Well, I'll scroll down because our co-host here, it's the very first thing, veto with an exclamation mark. Almost
You know when
instantly.
there's talks of veto that we've got some issues
Ruffled
with
feathers.
it. It has, but and probably the biggest reason for the ruffling of feathers was because the beneficiary was the champ Jake Pantis, who, let's be fair, has no moral compass at all.
Well, he has in his career in the EDL, he's had Rasheed Rice, he's had Henry Ruggs III. Who else has he had? I mean, he's a question when it comes to character. He's not a character-driven personnel type of guy, is he?
And it's just about not getting beaten by what you know. Every year he trades a running back. Every year for a receiver, or a tight end, or someone that's about to potentially lose some value. Now Blake Corum's a bit younger than he typically goes for, but look, at the end of the day, both sides were content and happy. So it was a tough one to entertain any vetoes, and we haven't done that. But it's probably just more an understanding of, calculators aren't everything, but it's a good starting point. And we will see what happens. Like, there is a path for Blake Corum, if I'm being very, very glass half full. I have to squint very, very hard to try and see that path, but it's there somewhere. But this looks like a railroad to one side, boys.
Absolutely. I think poor Harold Fannin, he's done nothing wrong. He's come into the league, and I think you've got
Great pick.
11 people in this league hoping he slips in the bathroom and breaks his leg tomorrow. So if you're listening, Jake Pantis, champ.
Yeah.
Not happy? You got to say something if he's listening.
Yeah, no, you
Right.
can't just leave on that cliffhanger if you're listening and then have a swig of the old drinky poos there. All right, the other trade that went down, and I'll put it on the screen if people are going to tune in, and I encourage, if you want, tune in on YouTube, League Down Under, it went down between myself, the Park City Lions, and the Straight Cash Homies, Timos, and it was... yeah, a fair bit went down. So I received Isaiah Likely, 27 third, which was Tim's. Tim's 28 first, his 29 first, and his 29 second. And in return, he got Derek Henry, Christian McCaffrey, and his own 28 fourth. I must have given back to him. It was in the end. So yeah, what were your opinions, guys, on this trade? Obviously, I like it because I'd accept. What are your opinions on it?
Well, we like it from both sides, don't we? Because it's a clear signal of intent from Timos that he wants to win a ring, and he was close last year to getting in, and maybe if he did get in, who knows what might have happened. And he's put the chips forward. So I think from your point of view, you got max value, getting 2 firsts in the deal. Yeah, they're a bit later on in terms of 28 and 29, but getting a second and a player on top as well, I think you've done well. I like it for Tim. I think we'll talk about Tim's draft in a sec, but I think that might have had a little bit to do with it. He didn't walk away with a running back in the draft, so maybe he thought he needs to do it. The timing was interesting, but sounds like he was, despite everything that everyone says, Timos was good to deal with in this one, Ben. Got to pump him up when where credit's due. And you got the deal done. So well done to both of you.
Yep. And 2 things for me. I think, number one, Tim will tell you that for a few years now, his running back room's held him back, and it was his only area to improve, and he's just gone bang, bang versus investing in, the same amount for someone much younger. And then secondly, is Christian McCaffrey the village bicycle of this league? I feel like just about everyone's had him, and some people have had him multiple times, Tim being one of those. So it's really come full circle. So, he would have to be in one of the top 1 or 2 favourites heading into next year as a result now. So,
well, he's a funny one, Christian McCaffrey, and obviously me trying to retool my team a bit. My main goal this season, we talk about league, team strategies. Mine was to sort of reset the age of my team. I pushed it just about till the wheels fell off, and I needed to genuinely, if I didn't do it this year, I would just have assets that would fade off and I'd have nothing. So this was sort of my pivotal point. Last year, you could have argued the same thing. But Christian McCaffrey is an interesting one. Like, he did finish as the number 2 overall player in the league last year, running back 1 on the season, but he's also had those injury-hampered seasons, which, scare people off a little bit. So when you're going to invest highly, you've got to pay to get a player like him. He's aging. He's had injury history. There's risk involved. So he's an interesting player to buy. He's an interesting player to sell as well. So you don't want to sell him for nothing. At the same time, you have to pay up, and Timos did pay up, and you're right, Keeney, full credit to him. He was pretty open from the start. There was a bit of back and forth negotiating, but it's pretty similar to the first deal that Timos put on the table, is what we ended up with here. So he knew what he wanted going into the trade, and he got clearly those 2 running backs.
Yeah, and I think sometimes in the league there are really only 2 trade partners for this kind of deal, and it really felt like your team, Ben, you'd probably had a chance to win last year, didn't, and this was probably the path you were always going to go. Tim was the only one that was just really lacking in the running back department, whereas some of the other contenders have already got their rooms full or thereabouts. So, yeah, it didn't surprise me when it came through.
Certainly to get through, to offload the 2 of them in the one trade, I think that would have been much harder to do with other contenders. I think CMC was an interesting, I think he intrigued a lot of contenders, because a lot of people reached out about him, because I think he does still hold value beyond this season. Derek Henry's a little bit more questionable in that sense there. But I think ultimately a lot of those contenders went, I want to see how this season pans out before I commit. And Timos clearly went, all right, well, I'll take the risk because that will ensure that I can get him locked up now.
And speaking of signalling intent, like Timos did, there's also a signal of intent from the Park City Lions about where this year might be heading. Now, I want to ask, has there been some more vulturing off the back of Mahomes, McCaffrey and Henry off the roster in about a week?
And also Kelsey. I
Kelsey.
uploaded him mid-draft as well.
Are the vultures coming, circling?
Helped me reset the age, I can tell you that. I dropped a few years on my average age. No one has come circling. I think that probably the next name that people might inquire about is Mike Evans. Obviously, moving to the 49ers, but I think he is going to be an in-season play. I reckon people are going to wait to see with the move, will he sort of pan out like people anticipate he will? It's going to be an interesting name for redraft, I reckon, where he goes, because, I mean, he's a productive player. He never struggles to hit 1,000 yards in a season, and he's going into a really productive offense. So with not a lot of people to contend against. I mean, he's got who's the other?
Ricky Pearsall.
Ricky Pearsall is probably the
Ayuk's gone,
other
Devo's
name.
gone.
But yeah,
Kittle's
everyone else
injured.
is gone.
Jennings is gone. Yeah.
Jennings has gone to the Vikings. So, yeah, there's a lot of targets up for grabs for him in a high-powered offense, or what has been a high-powered offense. So I kind of see him as one that people might reach out for mid-season and inquire about, but probably not at this point. I don't think people will take the risk on what he could be. And he could break his collarbone in week 1 like he did last year or whatever, and have a hamstring injury when he returns from his collarbone injury. And it was just that was his year last year, and that's part of his range of outcomes, unfortunately. So I'm not really doing a good job at trying to sell his value to any potential buyers out there, but I'm being realistic about it. So he's probably the one that people would look for, but no vultures as of yet.
You know what? Jake might flick you a 2029 fourth and a bit of fab, so hang in there.
Just as a pity.
You get Harold Fannin for him. That's about the
maybe.
price, isn't it?
Maybe. All right, well, let's move into what was the rookie draft here, and I will... I'll put the entire draft board on the screen, which will, if you're listening, tune into YouTube, League Down Under on YouTube here, and you can see this is how it's fully panned out here. And Keeney, I think we're just going to go through one team at a time here, and you're going to kick us off with someone who just about drafted, well, he drafted more than a starting lineup in Feds with 11 players.
He did. Our man Camo. We're going to do it in division order, so we're going to start with the San Diego Demons. Stiff, not getting the 101, but them's the breaks.
Salt in the wound, mate.
But without going through it pick by pick, he's in a position where he needs to add assets that can increase value over time, whatever position that is. He's gone for the 7 wide receivers, 3 QBs, and 1 QB off waivers, but 3 QBs. And the tight end Eli Stow is at 11. I did have a chat to him, and he did acknowledge and admit to me that he did stuff up in the first 5 picks, because what he was planning to do was pick Mendoza, Tate, Tyson. Sorry, other way around. He was planning to go Tate, Tyson, Lemon, and leave Mendoza hanging there at the 105.
For anyone to come up.
Just to see if anyone wanted to come up. And to really give the DFF the big sweat, which is the other reason, because that would have been very funny. But he just forgot, and for those that weren't a part of it, he just went, the old
bang,
slippery
bang, bang,
digits went bang, 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 and he couldn't help himself, and all of a sudden the DFF was on the clock. So I think he wanted to play the game but forgot to. But look, he's turned the 106 and the 201 into Jordan Tyson, which I think... Look, I don't think Tyson gets to 6, so he would have had to make a decision. He probably takes him at 5, misses Lemon, clearly. But yeah, I think in terms of his overall draft, I think he'll be happy with what he's achieved. No real surprises, pretty chalk, to be honest, in terms of the first round with what he did. There was no real, bolter receiver that he took that he just had a strong opinion on. I think he's sort of gone what the expectation was. Ty Simpson at pick 8 is an interesting talking point. And the other interesting talking point, I think, boys, is will he delve back into 2027? Because he doesn't own a 2027 first. He's got 1 second. You probably don't want to rely on this class to rebuild your entire roster. We know JSN's there. Is there any chance that he tries to put a couple of these into next year if he possibly can? There's Ben, there's Hod that control the 2027 draft next year. Do you think that's maybe a play for Camo?
Absolutely. I think he's, 2 weeks ago had a bit of a year off.
He's back.
So there's that.
Couldn't help himself.
Yeah, I think there's definitely the chance to swing some of these guys for picks and running backs, and yeah, he'll be pretty active. So looking forward to the great man.
It's interesting because it feels remarkably reminiscent of the 2022 rookie draft, right? So Manny held a plethora of first-round picks there, took a lot of wide receivers with those. I think he was thinking at the time he could possibly offload some. Didn't have many buyers, so he just drafted away and took a lot of wide receivers. That started with Breece Hall as their running back. Had Kenny Pickett, a quarterback, at pick 2. So there's some eerie similarities between it. But Manny, in that draft, he took Drake London, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Christian Watson, Sky Moore, all in the first round, and did a little bit of what you're saying, Keeney, could Camo do, and that's trade some of them out for future assets. But unfortunately, he traded away Drake London, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson and hung on to Christian Watson and Sky Moore for most of that. So he probably just... It just shows how it's a good strategy if you get it right, but ultimately there's just such a gamble, isn't it? So I don't mind what Camo did going the 3 wide receivers here because, you know, depending on sort of which experts you looked at, the order changed between the 3 of them for a lot of different people. So I really like Tate. I think he's good. You like Tyson. That's who your pick would have been. Thayers, who would have, if you just had to pick one of those 3 wide receivers, who would you have gone with?
Out of the 3, I would have gone with Tate. I think, like there's tricky one. Like it's not consensus by any stretch, but there's some things in his profile I think that I like more than the other 2, but he's got all 3, so he didn't need to make that decision in the end.
Correct. And take that gamble out and just go, all right, if he watches a season from them and, you know, just watches the tape of them in the NFL and goes, all right, I like what I see with maybe this guy and trade one of them out or trade 2 of them out. He's got that ability to pivot. And one thing we know about Camo is he's not afraid to pivot. He will pivot whenever he feels like it. So, I think I reckon he'll sit on him for a year or majority of the year and then make a decision about whether he wants to hold or not.
Yeah, and before we move on, the last thing I'd say is the most interesting part is, as I said, he doesn't own his own 2027 first, and Mendoza could sit all year. Simpson will probably sit all year. You can't rely on first-year rookies to get the job done for you and be competitive. So whoever, like you wouldn't expect he's going to be thereabouts in his division, even though it's not a strong division. So I wonder if he can move something for his 27 first, which probably aligns a little bit more with the Mendoza and Simpson selection.
Yeah,
anyway.
That's a very good point there. We'll move on to the next person here, and that was our guest last week, the DFF. He did trade out of that 104 spot for the 106, and he's just walked away with 3 players here in the draft in Jadarian Price at the 106. Now, it's funny because we sort of tried to pepper from him who might he take at the 106, and I'm a little bit annoyed, Keeney, listening back because we kind of knew his biggest need was running back. Jadarian Price was sitting there in the perfect range at the 106, and of course that's what he did. So well done, DFF, I think we sort of hinted it could have been Sadiq because he knew his name off the top of his head. But he's walked away with Jadarian Price, which I think is a really good value for a plug-and-play starting running back for someone who's going to compete for that division. So what are our thoughts on the Jadarian Price pick?
Well, you can see what he's done. So he's sitting there at the 104 and he wants running back. He doesn't want receiver. So his first 2 picks, which ironically he traded the 104 for, Jadarian Price and Jonah Coleman, both running backs. So he's basically turned that 104 into 2 running backs. Look, I think at the end of the day, it was pretty consensus by the end of it that Price is probably pick 6 off the board. Is it a great pick 6 based on previous years? Probably not, but it is what it is, and he's the second best running back in the class. So it's a position of need, and it's about where he goes. So makes a bit of sense.
Yeah, I think the trade he's done it's worked out. But what we spoke about, I think off air after the trade was that, it's worked out. But what if Camo had have moved that pick to a Tim or to someone else? Then all of a sudden Price is gone and Steph's missed the opportunity to get Price and he's looking at a Mackay Lemon. And so trading in advance, kind of hoping things fall your way is a bit risky, but Como, to his credit, just did the right thing by him, didn't worry about anything else. And then, I think just on price, at the end of the day, he's a first round pick. He's gone to Super Bowl champs. The other running backs in the last year of his deal coming off an injury. So, like, his profile's questionable. I know he's a big talking point in the community, but yeah, big upside, I think. But relative to a 106 in any other year, maybe not.
All right, really quickly before Thais, you move on to our next team. Deshaun Stribling at the 204. I know he's a divisive player in the Dynasty community. Are we thumbs up or thumbs down on him? Thais, we'll start with you.
I think where he went in this draft is fine. I think another player that was really talked down because no one had him going that high. Like the Niners have had a bit of a weird board post the draft. Like there's been a lot of talking, but you hear other teams are supposedly after him and had him higher than consensus. I kind of like where he went there. Do I think he'll amount to be a wide receiver one or anything? No, but I mean, I really like where he went at the position in the draft. So kudos.
Nice way to have it both ways. Good job, Keeney.
Yep.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
No, we'll get to it a bit later in the pod, but big thumbs up. Big thumbs up for me for Stribling there. I like him there.
Yeah, I don't mind him there. I saw him going in some mock drafts in the first round, which I thought was a little bit bonkers. So to get him almost middle of the second is not a bad result there. And with a couple of other wide receivers going ahead of him in the second. So that will be an interesting one. Obviously, like we just spoke about before with Evans, there's a lot of targets up for grabs in San Francisco. So time will tell. All right, Thais, you are covering our next team, which is the Gym City Stallions.
Yeehaw, my man, Jim. So... Yeah, Jim and I spoke a bit during the draft. We typically do, for the listeners, talk a lot during the draft. 'Cause I think we draft very differently, and our teams are at different ends of the spectrum, so to speak. So we have pretty good open conversations around what we're doing. We don't kind of cross wires, get hooked on the same players. Yeah. No, but I think this struck me similar to Jim's first draft, where he got Amon Ra and a few other guys throughout that draft. Like the guys he took, some of the receivers like Brazil and Skylar Bell, kind of like where they went. He definitely needs to take some swings at quarterbacks. So like the guys he took there, and he took Bernard in the second. I mean, I think the weakness of this draft in terms of value was probably through much of the second round, probably early through to late second round. So probably took best available there. So kind of like it. His team's in a position where he just needs to take flyers on high upside guys and, high value positions, and he's done that. So, I thought he drafted pretty well. Did he trade pretty well? Jury's out. But, that's my 2 cents on it. The Stallions.
So, Thais, question without notice. If you took over the Gym City Stallions for 2 months, what are the first 2 things you'd do to his roster?
I'd give the Prestige Worldwide Cam Ward and Cam Scatterboo for some fab.
Come on, be serious, mate.
I think what he's done in this draft is good. I mean, you look at, say his top 5 assets in terms of players or picks, probably at the lower end of the league at the moment. So like the approach in just taking swings at 7-8 players in a draft, you just have to hope that with a bit of research returns more value than what the picks are worth at the time, and some optimism that he's done that here.
I reckon in a reverse way, Keeney, Thais said that he'd build around Cam Ward and Scatterbo. That's what I heard from your sort of tongue-in-cheek response there. So you're right. I think identify the talent, the young talent you got on your roster, build through the draft, hope that some of these flyers increase in value, flip them for more players. That's where he's got to go with this.
Yeah, like looking at his team now, like if either one of Metcalf or Pittman fall off a cliff and Bernard hits early and McCarthy's 3 receiver sets, if Skylar Bell or Brazel quickly snap up the wide receiver 2 role, they return value. If Rogers is cooked or Jacoby Brissett's cooked, either one of those guys gets a start. Like there's avenues.
Miami could be literally anything for their receivers this year. No one kind of knows how that's going to pan out at this point.
And Jim, I think will chat Cam Ward and Cam Scatterbo offline, man.
Cool, don't do it. I think it's also worth noting. So you're right. He's had a few swings in the draft, which he tends to do. He's also added Rico Dowdle, Dontavian Wicks, Blake Corum, and Cedric Tillman.
That's true.
Which is an interesting blend of strategy. I don't know. Yeah, they're all sort of. I don't know what those players are. I don't know where they're taking him. I don't mind having a few goes. Like, it's interesting. Like so he picked Fannin at 312 last year, which is a great pick. Mm-hmm. He picked, as you said, Amon-Ra St. Brown at the 205 or whatever it was.
Or something it was.
So he can nail the draft. He's just got to work on the extracurriculars.
The extracurriculars.
Days.
Yeah. That's good call. All right, so Kenny, you're up next with our missing co-host, the Humdingers. Now, not a lot going on here for someone who's really invested in that 2027 draft.
He is. But he couldn't help himself. He wanted to get back in here. I think he'd done a fair bit of work on this draft, even though he wasn't really that excited by it. But he traded Tillman to Jim for a couple of fourths here, and the greatest position in world sport. He's opted for a couple of tight ends here. So Eli Raridan from the Patriots is a pretty a popular name, and probably surprised he was there in the 4th round, to be fair. Like, I thought he's more of a 3rd round pick. I could be wrong. He's a 1 year wait and see what happens. Yep. He could go up the depth chart in 12 months' time, obviously, with Drake May as well. So he could rise in value. And Matt Hibner from the Baltimore Ravens, who obviously lost Likely. Mark Andrews, not sure where he's at. Mm-hmm. So you can see why he's gone for those 2 players. But really, it's all about 2027 for Hod. He's locked and loaded. He's ready to go. I don't think he's going to be moving many of his picks. I think he's going to tank again. And just next year, this time in 12 months, look out league.
Yeah, we're going to have to do it in person next year. But looking at Hod's team, there is absolute daylight between Hod loving the tight end position and any other league member loving any position. It's
Manny and QB?
Insane.
Manny does like a QB.
Manny's got 14 QBs.
Probably not to the level that Hod loves a tight end.
How many tight ends you got?
Are you talking about the position?
Yeah. Add a couple.
Oh, goodness.
What's he got? He's got 3 starters.
You do the numbers off to the side here while
got
I quickly run 8 tight ends.
He's got 8 tight ends.
That's a lot.
It's more than required.
I reckon the league average would be somewhere in the 3 to 4 range.
Can they start 3? 4?
You can only start 3, but I know people stash them on the taxi squad and things like that. It's a position that you kind of stash and hope for. 8 is a lot. But maybe you can let us know, Keeney, a little bit later how many QBs Manny has as a comparison there. But we'll move on while you do that to your team, Keeney, and that is, let's see what the Grouse did in the draft here. And obviously you kicked it off with the 101 here, and you took all of, I think, 7 seconds to draft Jeremiah Love here. Absolute no-brainer, clearly. And what a lot of people had was daylights. Can we just ask, did you have any people inquiring about a trade, or did you have any desire to entertain a trade?
I always open to entertaining it, but nothing. No, nothing. So I didn't dilly-dally. I just put his name in, and we can always trade him later.
Yep, correct. And you did the same with Genty last year.
Yep. Very fortunate to have the pick, I must acknowledge.
Did Jake offer Blake Corum in the 311?
Very good, Thais. Your second pick at the 202 was Antonio Williams, another player who's had a lot of off-season buzz or pre-season buzz to him. Were you pretty happy to see him fall in the second round here?
I was. I don't know if 202 is falling. It's
Will still be available there for consideration.
Yeah, it was. So, full disclosure, I had him and Stribling. I wanted both of them. I would have taken Stribling at the 207, but I didn't think Williams would get to the 207. I thought Stribling might. So, I took Williams there off the back of that.
Did Hod come to you at all, Keeney, in the second? Because I know he's a big Williams fan. He was spruiking him on the pod, and when I saw he was still available at pick 14, I thought, oh, here we go. Maybe some 2027 into 2026.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't yet, and he didn't during the draft, but my inbox is always open.
The DMs.
Your box is always open. Excellent. And then you, in middle of the second, you went with, just a Kansas City running back in Johnson, which we all know that it really doesn't matter who you are in Kansas City. If you just happen to get in a position where you get touches, you become valuable in fantasy. And then you've gone with, who else did you wrap up here? Ted Hurst. A bit of a, I think you set it off air, Thais, a bit of a Chris Godwin sort of maybe insurance play. There are some potential touches up for grabs in Tampa Bay. And then another name that has featured a lot in Max Clare, the tight end for the Rams. I think in a McVay offense there, he tends to have certain players in mind. And if this guy can, at least get on the field with Stafford, he's got a potential to increase in value there. So nice little fly. And then you traded up in the fourth round for your little homer pick in Bryce Lance there. How desperate were you to get a New Orleans player in to your roster?
Well, part of fantasy and dynasty is about having fun. So I don't have many Saints on my roster. So I wanted to make sure I had one. He's super athletic. He's a dart throw, but we'll see what happens.
We think you two are the most frequented trade partners in EDL. I feel like you guys trade a lot.
It's a fair shout. I think
got numbers on this.
We're possibly up there in terms of, and they're never anything particularly large. I mean, the Mahomes one was, but I mean, you traded up for the 403. We do a lot of those types of trades, definitely. That happen most year where it's just moving a few positions here and there. But Keeney's got a little program that he's coded to figure that stuff out. So maybe that's another stat we can bring back from our stats man. Thais, you're up next, I believe, with the Punishers, who are on the board now. I'll just get their picks up. All two of them.
Huge.
Yep. All two of them.
Got a good team.
Yeah, so I will get to my team.
Speaks volumes.
Later. We'll get to my team later, but I reached out to Papa to inquire about the 210.
What an intro to the Punishers.
No.
I'll talk about my team.
I'll make this about me.
No one cares about the Punishers. Fourth in the division. But
one bloke
I reached out to him and inquired about the 210. I said, are you interested in moving the 210? And he just replied, yep. So that kind of told me that he was out on the draft. So I think his draft hand is reflective of that. I think he took the high upside tight end, similar to Raridon, what Hod did, kind of to just wait a year. Like Juwan Johnson's got that under control this year, but next year it's an interesting play. He potentially flips that for value or holds out. And then, not going to lie to you, know nothing about the 412 Mr. Irrelevant. So very fitting that the Punishers were Mr. Irrelevant in this draft because they are nearly Mr. Irrelevant in the EDL and definitely Mr. Irrelevant in the Vontae Mack division. Enjoy that at 4 a.m.
I'll cop that because I hold his first round pick for next year, so I'll be happy if he's Mr. Irrelevant. Just falls into that lottery status.
Well, I will say, though, pleasant trading experience. So, I hang shit on him all the time and always will, but it was an easy trade to do. So, shout out.
I'll give you the red hot tip, Thais. When someone doesn't want the pick, it's normally going to be a pretty easy trade experience.
Straightforward. Yeah, all right.
Let's move over to the straight cash homies. And Thais, we'll get to your team in a sec, don't worry. So Timos, we know he's done the big blockbuster trade, and he's gone with Kenyon Sadiq here at 107, and I just wonder is if Price got to him at the 107, does he do the big trade?
Not both.
That's the big question. And it comes back to Camo. If Camo just sat there at the 105 and said, hey, Timos, what do you reckon? Dangled that little, whether it's Mendoza or Price. I don't know what he was dangling. All I know was it was little. But anyway, when we get the great Straight Cash homie on the pod, we can ask him all these questions. But Kenyon Sadiq, a polarising player in this draft, and first tight end off the board. Thais, I'll get your thoughts on him in a sec. He then came back to Zachariah Branch at 309, which is a bit of a value. He dropped and dropped and dropped. I'm surprised he normally goes second round. I'm surprised he got all the way through to the third, and 309 too from memory. And then a little bit of not a homer pick because it's good value too in the Demon. Benny?
The Demon.
Demond. Claiborne. So nice little pick there to round out the third round, and then Mike Washington, the Ashton Genty backup at the 406. Another good value, you could argue. So he's got some good values in the third and fourth round. Kenyon Sadiq, we'll see what happens. He's exciting. What do you think of Kenyon Sadiq, Thas?
Yes. I think looking at...
Not much.
Loading. Still loading. Yeah.
Still loading. Yeah, poor internet down in the Bayside. But I think at the 107, he's probably got the highest upside, right? So he's probably the right pick. It was interesting because he's already got Pitts and Warren, and I think he had Likely as well. So like he had a lot of tight ends there. But I like the approach of just take the best and sort it out later, which he did. He moved on. Likely, in terms of him, I think he could quickly rise to the second weapon in that offense behind Garrett Wilson. Like Gino's there, so like we know he can sling it. Like that undersized, really quick, athletic tight end probably doesn't have the production profile, but there's a lot of upside. Just athleticism always translates, doesn't it? So I like the pick, but yeah, I was relieved at the time that he didn't get Price. I'm glad the DFF took him, but he went on to do the McCaffrey-Henry trade, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, nice. And we did allude to it, but we will get to the Prestige Worldwide right now as I cover Prestige Worldwide. So
play the song.
You went into this draft. Boats and hoes. I don't know.
See you in the bed, Ben.
Right now. You went into this draft with 0 picks, and you walked away with 3. So you managed to trade out Jalen Warren, Rico Dowdle, and Dontavian Wicks, and you walked away with Jacoby Lane, Adam Randall, and Justin Jolly. So talk us through Thais in the back half of the second and mid-third. What was your strategy here to part with? Probably Rico Dowdle's an interesting one there, someone who had a lot of value last year and a lot of production for these sort of 3, let's call them flyers in the position of where you took them.
Yeah, I was mindful, like looking at my roster construction, that had a lot of good running backs. We know that, generally they don't age as well as some of the other positions. I thought good chance in a weak draft. I do think it's a weak draft. So like all these guys are upside plays. But yeah, to target teams, I thought that would be interested in taking on a running back, whether it be for depth or to start around that kind of value, like in second round, was kind of the approach where I just took, if you want to quickly whiz through the guys, took Lane because I like his profile, like some of the stuff in there, and there's no target competition really in Baltimore, and I like to attach myself to Lamar. Randall, interesting story, Randall. If anyone's got the time, I won't do it on the pod, but yeah, the owner made that pick, was trying to find the next Ray Lewis in terms of what he means to the team. So it was really interesting. And he's a Henry handcuff, and I don't think Justice Hill's going to get any of the goal line work if Henry goes down or moves on next year. And then, yeah, just the tight end. If you have a look at my roster, I don't have a lot of tight end depth, so I just thought I'd take a dart throw at Jolly, who resembles a bit of Harold Fannin, maybe. Like close. And already there's talks that they might move on from Evan Ingram there. So, yeah, never know.
Yeah.
So
it's an interesting one you bring up with Randall, that the owner drafted him. It's such a bizarre story. And hearing them talk about it, and he did his research.
Months on just wanting one player. It's fascinating.
But
Yeah,
where I reckon
was,
credit to you to invest in him here, because even if he's a bust, he's seeing out that entire contract. Like, there's no way in hell they're cutting this guy with the amount of time that the owner invested.
No.
This is going to be the most sunk cost draft pick ever if it doesn't pan out. So even if he's a bust, he'll see out his 4-year contract, guaranteed.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, so that Baltimore owner is good friends with the Clemson coach, Darbo Sweeney, who's where he played, and he said he's the highest character player he's ever coached in college, full stop. So I thought it was interesting. It doesn't translate to fantasy points.
So he had lots of people to his birthday party.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think it offsets all the
Good on the
work
practice
Josh
squad.
Jacobs has done in the last couple of days. So,
That's true.
you know,
That's true.
Very good.
yeah.
Very good. Well, we don't need to talk
Prestige,
about
there you go.
old mate Champ for too long.
Yeah,
OJ's
Keeney,
legal
are you
team?
covering OJ's legal team?
Well, I can do both.
I'll
Let's
click
do
on-
OJ's legal team super quick. Thayas,
Done?
bad luck, mate. We're done. No,
And
he didn't
go.
actually have a pick. He didn't actually have our pick, our man. He just traded the 311 for Harold Fannin. But the joke's on him because Harold Fannin was the 312 last year, so he's actually paid up for him. More so than
That's
what
a
he's...
good way to look at it.
Jesus. All right, let's move on to the weirdest team in the league by an absolute mile, and I can't wait to have him on. Johnny Unitas sensible haircuts. If someone can work out what he's doing, it'd be great for you to let us know. I don't know what he's doing, but his draft was okay. He took 9 hours to make a pick. For starters, let's address that elephant in the room.
We would have had this draft done in a
Which
day
time?
if it wasn't for him. Easily. Yeah, true.
Well, he's a busy man, the smartest man.
He is.
And didn't he just tell us
ask him.
all about it? But anyway, Chris Bell went at the
I'll quickly
203.
tell you a story.
He's a... Okay, I'm ready for it. Is it about your team?
So on the Saturday, in the second round, I reached out to Manny because, like I said before, I was trying to get into the end of the second round. And I was talking to Manny, and I also wanted him to hurry up and make his pick. And he goes, "Oh, sorry, I was playing footy, and then I was watching the North game, the replay." Like, in other words, I wasn't checking my phone because I got home and watched the North replay. So we're all sitting here waiting to pick.
Because he's watched the...
I'll defend him here, Thayas, because if the Bombers had an upset victory like North did, you can't tell me right now that you wouldn't be watching that replay and tuning everything else out.
Well,
Probably have my phone
it
on
also
me.
wouldn't happen, so we don't have to worry about that, do we?
All right, let's go through his draft. So he's taken Chris Bell and Nick Singleton
Ding
with
dong.
his first 2 picks, and then Elijah Surratt. So he had 3 second-round picks. Now, all those players are very, how would you say it, sort of sexy, rising rookies that probably didn't have
lot
the
of
best
buzz.
draft capital, but a lot of buzzy players. So we'll see how they play out. Nick Singleton's a very interesting player because the opportunity's there, potentially, at the end of this year or even during this year. And then Chris Bell, that room is a little bit wide open, which we'll get to in Ben's team in a sec with who he took. And then similar probably thing for Elijah Surratt, who's the bigger receiver there at Baltimore, so a bit of a point of difference. And I think he had a bit more love pre-draft than post. He slid a bit in the draft, Surratt, from memory. But all 3 of those boys have had some buzz throughout the Dynasty rookie draft, so he knocked them all over. Then Cade Klubnik, the I presume, back up at the Jets. They don't really have a plan at QB outside of Geno, so I can see why maybe he's thrown a stab there. And then Jamari Taylor, the running back at Jacksonville. I don't know a whole lot about him. You can fill me in on him, Thas, if you want. But his whole roster construction is interesting to me. He picks up Travis Kelce throughout this draft. I don't know why. I don't know where Travis Kelce fits in his roster at all. I don't. But unless he's trying to flip him for better, he just thinks he's worth more than what he paid, which is Camo's mentality. Maybe that's the case, but I need to get inside the mind of the smartest man in the world because I just need to understand what he's doing.
Yeah, it's a fair
just
comment.
To build on that last comment.
Go.
Say that Keeney said he's, a smart man, and that's why I didn't pick him in the division. That's all I had to say.
Very true.
Still
Tim or
hurts.
Keeney.
So you picked
Still hurts.
yeah. All right, let's move on to our penultimate team here, the champs, our reigning champs, the Bayside Executioners. So
One hit wonder.
you can't call a one-hit wonder while it's in action right now. He's also
It's a good nickname.
He's also on track for the double down. He could be a almost three-time champion if the DFF's going to give him nicknames. You can't rule either one out. So he's gone with the 208. He's gone Malachi Fields there. He's gone Keelan Black at a 304. Is that his name? Keelan Black. And the Nussmeier QB in the 4th round, who lasted less than maybe a couple of hours on his roster. I reckon he was dropped pretty soon after the 4th round wrapped up. Keeney, he came to you trying to trade you, didn't he?
Immediate regret. He just wanted some fab for him as soon as he picked him.
Oh, it's never a good sign. So he hit the waivers. I reckon Camo snapped.
Camo swooped.
But yeah, Malachi Fields is the interesting one there. He's taken a bit of a swing there with the Giants. You've obviously got Jackson Dart with an upside play. And you've coupled that with Neighbours, who is a little bit sort of that knee injury. We spoke about the cleanup last week, or not really a cleanup. It was more sort of an aftermath of the original injury as well. So it's the timeline from him is murky, and Malachi Fields, as a result, could see the field, and target's a target. So, that could be an interesting play there.
Yeah, and I think the other one, Keelan Black, is an interesting name in this draft. If you're all for putting a hand up and ignoring consensus, he's the 3rd running back taken in the draft, and he went running back 6 in the rookie draft. So you could argue there's a bit of value there. If you just say, well, I'm going to listen to what the NFL said, there's a lot of people suggesting he doesn't have a great profile, and he's 38 tomorrow, I think. So he's a bit older running back, but we'll see what happens.
All right, let's finish it off with the best team in all of the EDL.
Before I do, just to build on Keeney's point. So the Niners had this guy ranked 2nd on their running back board, and the majority of the NFL and the entire fantasy community had him at best kind of like a mid-day 3 pick. So it's really a bet on Kyle Shanahan, which is interesting because he's an injury-away guy in theory. So in a
Real
week draft,
DFF
contrarian pick, we call it.
Like it.
All right, last team, Thais.
Last
Bring it
team. Oh, who's this mob? The Park City Lions. Never heard of it. Let's have a look. So Benny, this would have been interesting for you because I feel like it's been a while since you participated in a draft. I've sat around at plenty of drafts with you, and you have not known anyone because you haven't been in, because you've been in the premiership window, so to speak. So, did you enjoy yourself?
Oh, look, and that's not to say that didn't carry over into this draft, because I had a mid-3rd, a mid-4th, and a mid-4th pick. So it's not like I
Yeah, but you were
really
swinging
had to study
trades and,
I was doing some trades. I traded in to the 3rd round to get Allen there. So, and Yeah, so I had the 3 fourth round picks, so I knew that I was really just going upside plays here. More of my draft capital I've been drafting for is for future drafts, which is fair to say. So, Katron Allen, I'm pretty happy with just where he could pan out. I mean, Bill Krosky Merritt panned out as a 7th round pick. This guy was a 5th round pick from memory in this draft, or 6th round pick. So he's already got higher draft capital in theory than Bill. And it's just not super solidified. That's not to say that Bill won't be good this year. I think he could be an interesting redraft player. But at the 305, you just take an upside play and hope for the best. Flicked Kelsey away to get that pick. That was part of my trying to get younger strategy. Kelsey was always going to be a hard player to part with. I don't think people are going to pay up an awful lot for a guy that going into the off season, there was talk about will he even return to the NFL. So to get something for him over nothing is sort of what my theory was there. So, and then upside play with Taylor Green. I sort of viewed him as a cheap Anthony Richardson. You get him at the 405. He's got the athletic capacity. He could even do a Terrell Pryor and become a wide receiver at some point in his career as well. He's got that much of a ridiculous athletic profile. So at the 405, who cares? He can sit on my taxi squad for 2 years and let's see what happens with him.
Yeah, well, he's competing with Sticky Fingers and Deion Sanders' kid. So, and we know
Shadu and KC Conception.
And we know that Cleveland never get the quarterback position right. So what's to say that they're not, 1-10, and Todd Monken's like, we got 6 games to go. Screw it, throw him in. He might start some wildcat packages. Might positional change.
Yep,
I reckon. And from memory, it was Cleveland when Terrell Pryor switched to wide receiver. So, and then became valuable in Dynasty.
Yeah. As if he's not getting a game this year. I like it. It's a good swing, and the Caleb Douglas pick was long overdue. I'm not sure why he was still there in the 4th round. I know people aren't pumped about him, but he can't last until the 4th round.
It's an interesting insight into how just narrative builds before a draft, because Chris Bell and Douglas went pretty similarly in the NFL draft. In fact, Douglas went ahead of Bell. Bell had an injury, I think, season in his final year of college, but goes at the 203 versus the 407. That's enough of a difference for me to just go, I'll take the cheaper play and see what happens here. I mean, there's probably a chance it doesn't pan out compared to Bell, but whatever, at the 407, you're taking dart throws no matter what.
Yeah, and 2 things on Douglas. Number 1 is, I think I was telling Brody on the phone the other day that I had a bunch of guys ready to hit up on waivers, and I think from about the 312, Claiborne, Thompson, Bell, Lance, Raritan, Green, Washington, Douglas, all in a row, bang, and it was just epic teardrop to the point that Scoot picked up a guy and was trying to sell him for fab. So that's my first point. And then second is obviously Miami's got the Green Bay scout over there as the GM now, and like they're all about Raz guys, high Raz guys, and this guy had a 9 something on his Raz score. Day 2 receiver, no competition. Absolutely a good value pick.
For those playing at home, Raz relative athletic score.
Sorry, I forget who I'm broadcasting to sometimes. Yeah.
Love an acronym. All
Very
right,
good.
Let's
fun draft.
Go around the table here. And I'll stop sharing the draft board there. Who is our favourite pick of the draft? It can be value. It can be just a player you liked that ended up on a roster. Keeney, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'll start. I really like Desorn Stribling at the 204. I mentioned it earlier. Polarising player, but I just think he's going to get on the field for the Niners. They clearly rated him a bit similar to the Black stuff. Like, they clearly rated him highly. I think you're right. I think other teams were hoping he'd be a bit of a smoky for them as well. And he goes off early 2nd round. He's a good blocker on the outside, which is important to get on the field to start with. And then he's got yards after the catch profile. I'm interested to see what he becomes. I think the wide receiver room there is not super. So I think he'll get some opportunities to rise in value this year. Can he go past Pearsall? Wouldn't shock me. So we'll wait and see. Just as a side note, before we get to your favourite selections, can I also say one of my other favourite things I'm seeing right now, boys, is some of the Instagram accounts that have been created are top shelf. If you haven't checked out Scoot's Insta, you know you're doing yourself a disservice. Some of the stuff he is producing makes you wonder what he's doing with the rest of his day. And Ben, your stuff is starting to look very, very nice as well, I must say. So great work, everyone.
Trying to pick up the production value, but clearly Scoot's invested his winnings into some form of subscription to an AI.
It's incredible.
The animations, and I don't know whether he gets any work done because he must be refining those sort of command prompts constantly because they're pretty detailed. But Thais, your favourite value selection of the draft?
I was just going to say on Scoot that that would make a lot of sense. You know, all the work he's doing on his Instagram page. I mean, his draft's a reflection of probably the effort he put in, particularly in that fourth round. I was speaking to him the other day, and he sent me a video of the executioners cutting off the heads of Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. So, yeah, he's top notch indeed.
He's got a...
He sent it to me like
He's got
in
a bank.
minute.
He's got a bank.
In like 1 minute of talking to him, he'd already sent this GIF through of like him cutting my head off.
He's built up a whole page worth before he's even posted any, for sure.
Yeah. My favourite pick in this draft is obviously Jeremiah Love. I think after him, I thought the entire draft sucks relative to other drafts. Appreciate some of these guys are going to work out. So I think my best value pick I had here, I think what Timos did, just taking those running backs, particularly Mike Washington, middle of the fourth. I was saying off air that, you know, it's a weekly game, and if anything happens to Genty in the first half of the season, all of a sudden he's worth a late first, early second. He's going to be contracted for 4 years. So I just thought in this kind of weak draft that someone like that carries massive upside if things fall a certain way.
Yep, interesting handcuff. Keeney went up to the 403. I thought he was going to snap him up there just to back up Genty, but took the risk for the homer pick, so see if that does come back to bite you. But you mentioned it as well, Thais. My pick that I liked was at the end of the third round, Damon Claiborne, that Timos got the Minnesota running back there, and it really just comes down to the fact that I don't think that that's the strongest running back room in terms of job security. Aaron Jones has proven to be pretty injury riddled. Xavier Scott had value last year. Like, that's all you need to know, that if he's seeing the field and if he's seeing any form of value, then why not take a swing at someone like Claiborne, who could easily work his way up the depth chart to be sort of that running back too. I know Jordan Mason is there, still needs to prove himself, but he could work himself up to the running back 2 spot there, and then you just wait for an injury for Aaron Jones, and all of a sudden, like you were saying, he becomes of great value.
Yeah, and the Vikings cut Aaron Jones in the offseason. No one signed him, so then they re-signed him. So, Jim, if you're listening and Jake comes to you and offers you Aaron Jones, consult me first. Go back 3 years. I said it on air. Hasn't happened since. I'm here to be consulted. And so are 10 other people in the league. So if you're listening, which I know you will be.
Do you have time to co-manage a team in the league as well as your own, Thais? No conflict of interest.
I don't have time, no, but I could do it. But I think that makes sense. Is that a DFF contradiction?
Yeah,
but,
it's up there.
Other than the DFF, the Stallions are my favourite Dynasty franchise and owner. So it is all love between the Stallions and myself. So I hope he continues to solely manage his team forever and consult me.
But importantly, consults me.
Yeah, nice sign off there. So, as Keeney mentioned, if you haven't got onto it yet, check out the Instagram pages, and well done to the league members who are starting to build a bit of online presence. I'm looking at the two of you co-hosts right now. I'm seeing absolute zizz from the two of you. Pick up your game. get some followers, and start to build a bit of a dynasty when it comes to fans, because that's what it's all about. We say it at the top of the pod. Who are you going to align yourself with? Scooty's a front runner right now. He's well and truly playing the AI game for his animations there. OJ's legal team have jumped on. They're really embracing the sort of no one believes in us. We're full of convicts. I don't know, whatever his strategy is there. Who else has jumped? DFF's been pretty solid on it as well. We spoke about that last week. So there's still a lot of members that need to pick up their game and try and recruit as much as possible. What about you guys? Are you going to try and get this off the ground?
Absolutely. I was just waiting to see how serious people are taking it. But now that I've seen it, I'm going to have to invest some serious amount of time into this, into thinking how I want it to go. But, geez, there's some inspiration floating around at the moment on the gram.
Very true.
When I'm not changing nappies or feeding babies or patting babies, I'll try and find the time to bring the prestige to life. So it might be time to pop on the black leather gloves.
Excellent.
Ooh.
Can't wait to see it. So for anyone out there listening right now, jump on. You've got the Empire Dynasty League Instagram page. That'll be your channel. Not the Empire Dynasty League, the League Down Under. I mean, that is our league, but the League Down Under Instagram page will be your channel to all of these profiles here. You've also got on YouTube, for anyone interested, League Down Under. And Thais, thanks for jumping on. The champ. Thanks for filling in for the Hodmeister.
Anytime.
How did it feel to be on?
It was good. Like, big head to fill. But, I enjoyed myself. I think...
big head to fill.
Yeah, we didn't talk about the best division in world sport. We talked about the best position in world sport. And we didn't talk about his favourite movie, Brokeback Mountain. Thais fast. Over and out.
Oh, he's already done the sign-off. Thanks for listening to another episode of The League Down Under. Tune into our YouTube, Instagram page, and we'll see you on the next one. See you later.
Peace out.
I'm not doing it. Hod doesn't want me to do it. Even when he's not here, I won't do it.
Do it when he's not here. That's when you have to do it.